Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. We hope you've been enjoying and learning from HDI 2015, a digital experience. In just a few moments, we'll be presenting the Culture Crux, Increasing Engagement, Innovation, and Accountability with Manly Feinberg. This webinar is sponsored by CA Technologies. I'm Roy Atkinson, and I'm your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. If you experience any difficulty with the webinar itself, you can get help by clicking on the green question mark at the bottom of your screen. At this time, we recommend you disable pop-up blockers. To chat with others who are attending today, click on the group chat button at the bottom right of your screen. We loved having you exchange ideas during the webinar. The slides will advance automatically throughout the event. You can download a copy of the slides by clicking on the Download Slide button located below the presentation window. If you're experiencing any technical problems, please visit our help guide by clicking on the help link below the media player. In addition, you can contact our technical support line, which is located in the webcast help guide. You can connect with HDI on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on hdiconnect.com, where you can read a blog, ask a question, or find a solution. To get us started, we'll be hearing from Alan Haupt, Advisor for Solution Marketing, Service Management, CA Technologies. Alan has more than 30 years of experience bringing various technology solutions to market with responsibilities in product management, pre-sales, sales, and marketing. He has covered a broad set of technologies, including service desk, IT asset management, service portfolio management, service catalog, mobile device management, business process management, portal, business intelligence, predictive analytics, rules engines, metadata management, and data warehouse. Take it away, Alan.
And thank you, Roy, and welcome everyone to what I believe will be a most engaging and valuable session that focuses on the reality that I think we're all facing as IT service management organizations. There have been notable changes in the ways that consumers operate in the marketplace, largely due to technological advancements in social, collaborative, mobile, and seller applications. If you think about things like Amazon, Google, Facebook, eBay, I'd venture to say that these technologies have contributed to a cultural shift towards immediacy, engagement, and innovation that's carried through into the workplace and is thus impacting IT organizations and IT teams. These changes are having ramifications to not only the consumers of IT services, but also on the IT teams and the decision makers that own these areas. It's management's responsibility to cultivate and enable their teams in this new world so that they're engaged, they're innovative, and they're accountable. And that's the focus of this session. From a vendor perspective, CA Technologies, we have to make sure that with our IT service management technologies that we support and enable this cultural change. We need to address the entire IT service management teams, from the technical folks like the service desk analysts or the asset managers to the service desk managers, or the business consumers, the actual end users, all the way up to the decision makers. And to do this, the technology needs to focus on three different areas. First of all, the user experience, and this is what drives the adoption and enables that engagement that we're finding as a result of this cultural change that's needed. We have the ability to deliver innovative services and quickly deliver them to the users as expected. And this really drives towards agility and being able to do that agilely and very rapidly in today's world. We also need to be able to measure success based on operational metrics as well as business value metrics. And this is what drives that accountability. So there's both a people side of things and a technology side of things. Let's take a quick look at each of these three areas from the technical perspective. First of all, from increasing the engagement aspect. Employees want to be engaged. They want things on their terms. They want to do things by themselves. So self-service is critical here. They want immediacy. They need a single place to go to, and they want to do everything at that one place. They want to ask questions. They want to collaborate. They want to search knowledge in other sources. They want to get access to the services and assets that the organization's made available to them. They want to resolve issues. So it needs to be all in that one place. It needs to be social, it needs to be mobile, and it needs to be delivered to them in their language. So these cultural changes, these technology changes are what have brought on this cultural change and this type of demand. So the next area is increasing innovation. And here we have a need for immediacy once again. Things need to be done fast in today's world in this new culture that we're dealing with. It's really a world of where agile meets IT service management. We need to deliver services very quickly. We need to design them, develop them, get them out there, and this requires a codeless type approach to delivering services. If we don't get these things out there quickly, consumers are going to go outside of IT for the services if they're not happy. So we need to be innovative in the way we deliver the services, and we need to deliver the things to the users in time and quickly so that they can be more innovative and place time on other tasks. The next area is increasing accountability. We need to make sure that we can measure success in terms of both the operational aspects, the productivity, am I getting my ticket queues done and so forth, but also from a business perspective. We need to be able to tie things to business goals and objectives and show how we're performing in terms of the business. So this goes across the user base again, from the service desk analysts, service desk managers, up to the decision makers, understanding what exactly it is that we've accomplished and proving that value. We need to have relevancy in terms of outcome-based measurements. We need to provide the right types of metrics for the persona or the role to all these different stakeholders. And to the business consumers, we need to give them transparency into the costs of the services that are being delivered and the chargeback so that they can make accurate decisions about what services they want to use. So that's just a glimpse into the technological side of increasing engagement, innovation, and accountability in service management. So as a vendor, we need to do this, but the rest of this session is going to take you through what leaders can do to cultivate their teams and create a culture to drive engagement, innovation, and accountability. So back to you, Roy.
Thank you, Alan. Manley Feinberg is an award-winning speaker and IT leader, best-selling author, and adventurist. Leveraging 19 years of IT, business, and professional speaking experience, Manley has shared his insights with audience from numerous Fortune 500 organizations, engaging, equipping, and inspiring them to achieve personal and business breakthroughs. He is the president of the St. Louis chapter of the National Speakers Association, a member of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency Leadership Training Staff, and an HDI faculty member. Manley, take it away.
Have you ever been part of an environment that enabled you to bring your absolute best every day, where you were encouraged, empowered, and inspired? Raise your hand if you've been part of that environment, that type of environment ever in your career. Now, I realize I'm asking you to raise your hand and you're watching a webinar, so I want to encourage you to get out of your comfort zone and do it anyway. So just raise your hand right there in front of your team, or hopefully no one's staring at you. But then raise your hand if you've never experienced this. You've never had that experience of being in that environment where you were supported and encouraged, empowered, inspired. Perhaps you didn't raise your hand on either one of those questions, and it's either one of two reasons. One, you never experienced that, or you don't know what I'm talking about, or you just refuse to raise your hand at a webinar when there's nobody live in front of you. I understand. But the bottom line is this. I want to talk about what an experience that is. When you do have that environment and you and your team have the actual desire to show up every day, the comfort to speak up and the courage to step up. That environment is what we'll define for the purposes of this conversation as culture. How do we create that? Now, I know some of you listening are actually team leaders or supervisor level or perhaps higher level, and then I know that some of you that are watching and listening as well perhaps don't have a quote-unquote leadership title. And I want to make a very important point right now is that you do not have to be a quote-unquote leader to create and contribute to a culture that really brings more engagement, more innovation, and more accountability. Your actions every day contribute to what I call your own microculture. And it's about that. It's about how you show up, how you speak up, and step up every day that creates that. Of course, for it to have an absolute transformation for an organization, it does need to come from the top down and also be surrounded by people who are also stepping up that same level. But I want to encourage you not to wait. If you don't have that going on, that you can be a victim and stand there and point your fingers, or you can just step up and start creating the environment, the culture that you want to be part of right now. And that's exactly what you're going to pick up today here, is not a bunch of theory, and also we're not going to give you everything you're going to need to absolutely transform your culture. We're going to be very laser-focused. To transform your culture, it's more of a probably 45 to 90 days, if not longer, engagement. I do that type of work often, but I want to give you something in the next few minutes that you can use immediately when you walk out of here, regardless of the level you are in your organization. So another word I'll use throughout this presentation as well is your team. Obviously, if you're a leader, traditional leader, and you have a direct report, you know who that team is. But I want to expand that definition for those of you who maybe aren't a quote-unquote supervisor or whatnot in your organization. And we're going to define your team as a circle of people in which you hope to influence and help them bring their very best. So your team is defined as a circle of people in which you hope to influence and help them bring their very best every day. That's my big promise, is that you are going to walk out of here and be able to develop a contagious, courageous culture so that you individually can, first of all, just be recognized as one of the very best at what you do and stand out among your peers. You're going to get more done, be more productive as well. You'll probably end up getting a raise and promotion too. You act the part and step up, you're going to be noticed, you're going to get more compensation that you deserve and need. And then most importantly, when people are part of a culture in which they are more engaged and they feel supported, they're able to bring their very best every day. When you walk out the door every day and back into your home, you're going to have something left over for those who need and deserve your very best at the end of the day. Not easy, especially in IT. I know this because I've been dealing with IT and the ups and downs and the struggles and challenges and the summits that it presents for 20-plus years. So let's dive right here. I'll show you a roadmap quickly on how we're going to accomplish this. We're going to focus in 4 core areas today that you can use immediately. The first of the areas is going to focus on motivations and helping you connect and influence with those around you, those you serve, customers, internal, external, team members as well. And I'm going to show you a quick way you can recognize certain motivations in people and get an understanding of that. That's the first key, is we have to get a sense of what motivates people and not just try to engage everyone the same. It works great if you're motivated by the same things they are, but otherwise we need to have some awareness and meet people where they are. The second area we're going to focus on is how you can recognize personality styles dynamically and lead these different personality styles through risk and reward. We're going to cover 4 key styles that you'll be able to, again, recognize quickly with 2 simple observations, no assessment needed. I love assessments. I have actually a degree in psychology. I've been through some amazing tools over the years, and they're very useful. The challenge with them in an environment like this learning environment is if I give you a certain model around personality styles or social behaviors, it's very challenging for most people to walk out and use that immediately. So that's the number one goal I have, is that you walk out of here with ideas that you can implement immediately. The third area we're going to focus on is the critical connection between each individual that you engage with, and 3 essential questions to drive a deeper connection, more commitment with every individual that you work with. The fourth area we're going to focus on is then how do we amplify the effect of this courage and this culture where people are more increased in their engagement, their innovation, and accountability to the entire team. You're going to pick up a simple 4-part framework that you can introduce at team meetings that will help create not just a mindset, but a culture that starts to create a movement inside your team. This is where your cultural shift will start to get some traction, and you'll start to see more results show up in your metrics every day. Let's dive right into the first area here, the 4 core areas of motivation to connect and influence. So as Roy mentioned, I had a lot of 20-plus years now of IT experience, and for 25 years, I've been involved in different businesses and leadership roles, and also on the front lines at executive level and every trench in between. And what I've found is that it's very challenging to motivate people. What I've used as a laboratory for people is my mountain experiences. What I noticed about a lot of things, I learned some great things in business, but I would go off on these crazy adventures around the world and come back, and I started testing different principles that I saw help us be successful in the mountains. And I would come back to my teams, business teams and IT teams, and test these different ideas. And some of them were very powerful and very effective. Others didn't work very well. And so what I'm sharing with you are the very best of those ideas. And in this case, I'm actually going to share a vertical climbing experience with one of my core teams and how that affected and impacted my teams in business, specifically in IT, and helped me create multiple teams that were highly engaged, very innovative, and stepped up consistently. So the first thing we're going to focus on is 4 core areas of motivation. This is called the EDGE principle. If we look at the next slide here, there are essentially 4 areas. The acronym, first letter E, stands for esteem. Those of you who are watching this and listening who are highly motivated by being recognized as someone who is excellent at what they do. Perhaps that's the person on your team who wants to be known as the ultimate troubleshooter or subject matter expert at a certain application. They take great pride in that. They love recognition, and that really motivates them. The next motivation that you'll see often is the do more motivator. The do more motivator are those on your team who are highly motivated by productivity. These people cannot hardly go to sleep in the evening without checking off all their action items on the to-do list. They make great natural project managers, task-focused, typically very detail-focused as well. The get more motivator is an old-school motivator, but still pretty common. Those of you who are highly motivated by making more money, flat out, you want to make more money, you want to get a bonus, and that motivates you at a very high level. By the way, none of these are right or wrong. It is what it is. And so I want you to think about these as I walk through these and recognize which one is a big motivator for you. The third one, they're get more, classic motivator, very common still. The fourth one is enjoy more. If you're not sure which key motivator is a primary one for people that you're surrounded with, you can pretty much count on this last one having some impact on them. That is, just about everyone you work with and serve in any way wants to enjoy life a little bit more. And due to that, if you can phrase things and engage them in a way that helps point out what you're trying to do and how that is going to make life easier for them, how that's going to help them work faster, how they're going to be less frustrated, less stressed, that really engages people. Most people are primarily motivated by one of these 4, and then typically a second one will be a close second in their motivations and get them highly engaged if you can drive some awareness around this. So first key step here, think about those 4 right now. Esteem, do more, get more, enjoy more. And which of those 4 do you recognize in yourself as a primary motivator? That's the first key question. Identify your primary motivation. Is it esteem more, do more, get more, or enjoy more? Next key action right now, I want you to write down a key team member's motivation. When you look at your team, are they esteem motivated? Pick one of those people who you want to connect with more. Perhaps they are highly motivated by productivity, getting the queue knocked out, fulfilling requests. Maybe they're a get more. You know they're motivated by raises and promotions and very sensitive to that. Perhaps they just want to leave a little bit earlier, get home. They want to have more fun at work. They want to enjoy more. So write down the key motivator for each of your team members. And I would encourage you, especially those of you who are leaders of a team in a managerial sense, to list your entire team and take the time to identify that primary motivator for each and every team member you work with. And then I would also do that with key business partners and your boss and other people that you need to influence more and have an impact on. Once we understand the primary core motivation, the next area we need to focus on to be able to connect with and communicate with people more effectively so that we can lead them through risk to greater rewards and greater performance, we have to develop a sense of individual personality styles. Again, this is something that's a very simple model. If you just pay close attention here and start applying this out there in the real world, I think you'll find it very easy to adapt and use immediately. There's just 2 simple questions that you're going to need to ask yourself that will help you engage each individual in a way that they want to be engaged and help them step up and take a little more risk, get out of their comfort zone so that they're more engaged. So let's check out this quadrant here. The first key question you want to ask is, Before I do that, actually, let me mention whose research this is based on, a tribute, Dr. Tony Alessandra. This is based on his work, which he calls The Platinum Rule. It's a great book. You can get on Amazon.com. Highly recommend it. Pretty fast read at $9. The Platinum Rule by Tony Alessandra. He also has an audio program called Relationship Strategies. This is based on, of all the different systems that I've worked on over the years and used day in, day out, this has been by far the easiest to understand, adapt, and what I like a lot about it is that it very much focuses on his work, addresses the fact that people are very dynamic, and that from moment to moment, their needs are different, how they might interact with you can shift. And so what we're trying to do is derive some awareness around which personality style we see, communication style. Now, how can we get this person engaged right now so they step up and start bringing the culture forward in the organization that ultimately yields in higher performance? First observation question, number one at the top there, are they direct and fast-paced, or is this individual indirect and slower-paced? So this will plot the person on a quadrant from top to bottom. If you're a slower-paced individual, you're going to land on the bottom half of the quadrant. Faster-paced, more direct person, top half. I want you to think of yourself as we walk through this again, and we'll talk about your key team members as well. So first observation question. Now, you only have to ask one more. Be aware of this and observe this when you're engaging with people. Second observation and question is, are they task-oriented, or does the person seem to be more relationship-focused? Task-oriented is going to land on the left-hand side. Relationship-focused will land on the right-hand side. Now, with two simple observations, we have now a plot somewhere on this quadrant, in one of these four quadrants, and people will be oriented perhaps more strongly to one or the other. I know some of you may be right now thinking, hey, you know what, I'm kind of, task or relation, depend on the situation. That's good. Our goal is to, over time, become more adaptable and more dynamic and not rigid. So that's something I want you to drive some personal awareness in your personal actions, and then it's easier said than done, actually. So it sounds simple, but we will then usually gravitate back to our comfort zone, so we have to watch out for this. Let's go through the quadrants, and I'm going to ask you to self-identify as we do walk through them. I'll walk through all of them, and then we'll do a quick review as well. So the top left, if you're fast-paced, task-oriented, those in your life you see that are get it done, save time and money, very highly motivated there, is what Tony calls the directors. The directors, another reason I like Dr. Alessandra's system, it's very, makes sense, right? The labels, you see it, director, you get it. You don't need a fancy color or triangle or animal or anything like that for it to make sense. Direct. People are very direct, fast-paced. They're very bottom-line focused. They want to get her done. That's my blue-collar Kentucky version there. So fast-paced, relationship-focused, what we call the socializers. The socializers, if the director's focused on get her done, the socializers focus on get wild, let's have fun, let's go, let's have team recognition and prestige. They work very well in team groups. They're very interactive and engaging with your guests. Great people to have on the team. Definitely drives guest service typically, and people really love to work with them. You don't really have to ask them to engage and talk to people, and typically will drive high guest service scores. We also need on every team, especially in IT, we have a lot of people who fall in this bottom left-hand corner, slower-paced, task-oriented. That's the thinker. Very analytical. They get it right. They're highly motivated by saving money as well, but they're also very sensitive to making accurate decisions. Details do matter to them, and they're going to need details to get out of their comfort zone and bring their best every day. Slow-paced, task-focused, the thinker. Bottom right-hand side, we have slow-paced, relationship-oriented. That's what we call the relator. They're very focused on, primarily, above all else, they want to get along with people. They build deep, long-term relationships. They seek approval. They're highly motivated by approval for their efforts. And they are also very good at driving guest service and longer-term commitment. As a team member, they're very, very loyal. And I want to call out a couple things. First off, you're polar opposite. If you're a director primarily, and you have a relator on your team, watch out. You'll typically be a little more brash and direct with this person than they might want. The relator wants a personal connection with you. And you don't have to give them a personal connection, but when you do, they will bring more every day. They won't just show up. They actually will start to speak up more and step up to the next level and engage at a higher level with your team and with your business every day. So now that we have those four basics laid out, I want to ask you to first identify again, what is what is your primary style? Think of that and put a star there and write down the one that's the primary one for you. Now, I want to transfer this into the concept of culture and risk and getting people more engaged. Specifically, now that we know to recognize each of these 4 styles, what does each of the 4 styles need so that they can step up and bring their best and get out of their own way? First of all, we have the director. The director needs to know and is most motivated by you explaining what the result is going to be. If they step up and they get more engaged, they get out of their comfort zone, you get them to try something that they're a little uncomfortable with, they need to know what the result's going to be. If I do this, what's the reward? What's the result going to be? The socializer is very motivated by the team element. So if you're trying to get the socializer out of the comfort zone, it's key to, first of all, if you can, put them in a team environment. Even if it's a cross-functional team, they're more likely to get out of their comfort zone with that team support and that fun element. The thinkers want details. You have to provide the thinker with details so that they know the risk. They're the person who's going to perhaps want to look at the contingency plan, the backup plan, if it's a strategic implementation or a change advisory rollout that you're requesting. But they really look at those details and want to know exactly what does it look like if this goes wrong, what's the go live going to look like, all those more technical details. So be ready to give those to the thinker. For our relators, it's very much a personal connection again, so they want to know you have that personal support. We're going to talk about how to develop that more with all 4 styles, but also especially effective with the relator. They have to have the personal connection, that trust, or they will not step out of their comfort zone and bring the higher level of engagement, innovation, and accountability. So now what I'm going to do is bring in this story of my core team. This is one of the key experiences I had where I really saw each of these motivations and these personality styles in play as I led this team through a very challenging scenario that we were facing. In this case, it's actually coming from the mountain world. I'm going to share an experience where I led my team through a climb. And I'm going to walk through each of these personalities, introduce you to the team, and then I'm going to use this as an opportunity for you to review each of these styles. So before we do that, I want you to pause again for a moment. If you haven't already, number 1, write down your primary style: director, socializer, thinker, or relator. Now I want you to, again, step back and identify a key team member's primary style. Pick a team member that you need to build that stronger connection with, that you know could be improved. Which of those 4 areas for them do you see them mostly operating in their natural comfort zone? Is it director, socializer, thinker, or relator? So here's team member number 1. This is Manly version 3.0. My 14-year-old son. At the time he was 12 years old, we were in the Black Hills in South Dakota and climbing in an area called the Needles, a beautiful granite climbing area where they have all these spires that are very tall and slender, 300 to 500 feet tall, many of them, with very small summits the size of a card table in some cases, or a kitchen table. Manly usually is that person for me who's very engaged and ready to rock and roll. He's very enthusiastic and a total go-getter. For Manly, to get him really motivated, I really had to focus on and get him to shift and think about the summit. Now, if he's focused on the summit and that gets him fired up, which of those 4 styles do you think he is? Hopefully you guessed director. That's right. Director is Manly's primary style. He's fairly direct. He's very results-focused. When I can clearly illustrate what the result's going to be, he gets engaged. Next we have Miss Lizzie. Lizzie is now 13 years old. Lizzie wants to have fun. She likes being around other people, and that aspect gets her highly engaged. Take a wild guess. Which of the styles do you think Lizzie is? To lead her out of her comfort zone, I had to focus on what element? The team element. Yeah, I had to make sure that she realized, hey, we're going to have fun. This is about us. We want you along, and this is going to be a good experience for everyone involved. We're going to have a good time. Highly motivated. Now, the next player on the team is my wife, Emily. 22 years now she's been putting up with me. And Miss Emily is a little apprehensive. She's a little bit more quiet, a little slower paced. To get her out of her comfort zone, I had to really illustrate the details to her, go into detail about, how much food do we have? Do we have enough water? How many feet is this climb? How long do we expect it to be? Exactly what time do we think we're going to get down? And so on. So which of those personality styles do you think she would fall under? Right? It's a thinker. She's a thinker. To get the thinkers out of their comfort zone, we need to provide them with details. Challenging because they typically, in my experience in the years of doing this, most thinkers are, I think, some of the most difficult to get to engage in risk and step out of their comfort zone. They like things the way they are typically. Sometimes they can get stuck. But it's also a strength of theirs because they have a very predictable behavior pattern for the most part, and they like steady consistency. So you have to give them the details to get them to step out of their comfort zone. So we have one more player on the team. Guess who the relator is? Very personal focus. If that's me, I need to know that I have a personal relationship here and that I can count on these people. And when I have that individual connection, it helps me step up. I experienced many, many years of ups and downs in my job at Build-A-Bear as an example, 11 years, and I stayed on board the entire time. I remember my exit interview, they asked me, why did you stay so long? You know, we had a lot of ups and downs, and you've worked for Michael the whole time. You're this one primary boss. And I said, you know, the reason I stayed is because of Michael. The number one reason, for that matter, any personality style leaves their organization, there's tons of research to back this up, is their relationship with their direct supervisor. That's why it's so key that you understand and start applying this next concept. Part 3, step 3, that is critical in developing the connection with each individual team member. Little Manly, again, very engaged team member, typically ready to rock and roll. We had climbed a 100-foot section, made our way through a narrow ridge, and then we were on the second section of climbing in the day right here. As you can see, it's fairly steep, pretty difficult, not the most difficult section on the climb, well within his abilities. I don't know if you've ever seen this with a team member. You know that they are capable and you've seen higher performance in the past, but for whatever reason, this particular day, they're just not bringing it like they normally would. Manly struggled right here, got very frustrated, and he pushed back very hard and said, you know, Dad, I want to go down. So I am done. I don't feel like climbing today, and just lower me down to the notch in the ridge right there. I'll wait for you all, and that's it. So I had to look at him. First, I just said, hey, come on, you can do this. But what really shifted is when I said, son, what about the other day? We climbed a very similar mountain, and we actually got to the summit. So call back to a recent success you had with the team member, especially their director, in this case, was Manly. And I said, tell me about the summit. That's the result we're going to have here. We're going to get to the top. Remember how killer it was? And then he started describing it to me. I could see it in his eyes. And as soon as he started describing it, I knew I had him. So once I was able to reestablish that and also let him know that, hey, I've got you on belay. This is the key concept in step 3. And if you look in this photo, you can see right in front of his face, there's a little metal device where the rope is running through. This is the belay device, B-E-L-A-Y. It's a simple device in the same way that this technique is quite simple, but very important. The belay is so essential in that for us to bring our best every day and step up as an employer or your organization, we have to know that someone's got our back. So in this case, I have the rope in my hands, and Manly knows that as he climbs, I will give him just enough rope to step up. Perhaps you've had this relationship with your leader or someone in your life. Another thing that happens, though, and I don't know if you've ever done this, is maybe give the person in your life or on your team too much rope, and that can really backfire. And that we give too much rope, too much slack, and then when they fall, it's a much bigger impact on them and the team. Also, sometimes we can hold a person back. We hold the rope too tight. We don't give them the room to grow. That can be very detrimental as well. And most importantly, everyone needs to know, regardless of the personality style, that you've got their back, bottom line. And that when they fail and they fall, this is going to happen. We're human. Every time, guaranteed, you can, at some point, they're going to screw up. It's just part of the deal. What happens when they do, and can they count on you to lock that rope off? So here I, again, assured Manly, I encouraged him and said, look, I've got your back. And between that and getting him to think about the summit, I got his mindset refocused, and we were able to move forward. So this is the critical connection to belay. Now, I want to dive in deeper into the belay process. At a very high level, you want to consistently ask yourself, for yourself, who do I need on belay every day, that person that I need in my life, and how can I reach out to them today, quickly serve them, just check in with them. And secondly, who in your life are you intentionally going to reach out to? Let's take this to the next level, because when this can be really powerful is when you make this part of your regular one-on-one connections with those in your life. So there are 3 essential questions that I want to encourage you to ask Now, the first question I typically get is, okay, how often do I need to do this? So if I'm going to get on belay, I'm going to drive a deeper connection and relationship with those that I'm surrounded by, when do I need to do this? I would encourage you to check in daily. So the check-in looks like this. The first person, again, you're going to reach out to someone and say, hey, I got your back. What can I do for you today? How are things going? Very simple, one question, whatever that is for you, be it text, Facebook, email, incident system, phone, whatever it is, the channel that they happen to tune in on. Daily check-ins. On a weekly basis, I would encourage you to sit down one-on-one. If you're a leader of your team officially, then that would be normal one-on-one scenario. If you're not a quote-unquote leader, just pick someone on your team as a friend, go to lunch with them, and you can encourage them to step out of their comfort zone. Often it just comes from someone. It doesn't have to be a direct report. So I want to encourage you to not be limited by vertical and horizontal boundaries on your team and in your organization. At a monthly level, at the very least, to go really in-depth in that one-on-one scenario and have those deeper conversations. The ultimate key is consistency. If we don't have consistency, you're not going to be able to develop the culture in which people are able to get out of their comfort zone and bring their best. People need to have trust. Trust is driven by consistency and you creating this connection. So here are the three key questions. Number one, we're going to drive awareness for them and ask them, where do you think you could stretch your comfort zone? Ask the question, be quiet, and shut your mouth, and just let them talk and express, where do they think they're settling? Where do you think you could stretch your comfort zone? And see what they say. I would try not to guide them as much as, as little as possible, and let them identify if there's certain key. This is, by the way, different than when you have a situation where you have to address a bad behavior. We're not talking about that. In those situations, crucial conversations, different techniques and different questions help say, here's the issue that I see. What can we do to address this? This is not that conversation. This is about helping a person identify an area in which they believe they're settling or they could bring more of their best and let them define that. So where do you think you could stretch your comfort zone? Second question, this is the advantage question. We first drive awareness, now we have the advantage. Who and what do you need to support and protect you? So who and what? That is in a very specific order, and it is an and, not an or there. So who first? Who is that person that they need the support from? And what do you need to support and protect you? Is it a great incident system, or is it some other tool? Is it some training, some practice? Is there a certain environment we can create that will help them? But critically important, who will help you through this? Who's going to be your mentor or help you figure out and feel comfortable? A third key area is action. Now this is where we identify what exactly are they willing to move forward with. For that action, what actions will you execute to stretch your comfort zone today? And then we want to, of course, hold them accountable and identify that as well as part of the action process. Once we do this, what you will see, and once you do it consistently, is people really stepping up to the next level. If they feel supported, they'll bring more of their best every day, especially if you identify their motivations. And then you can tie it to the type of personality you see and give them what they need more of, whether that's the result for the director, the team and fun environment for the socializer, the details around the risk and the reward for the thinker, or that deep relationship connection for the relator. So on the climb, I got Manly to move past that first difficult section, and we started making better progress. As you can see in this slide, he starts to make it up through this lower angle section, and then the walk got steeper, and he actually came into the section is defined as the most difficult technical stretch of climbing on the wall. What's interesting about this is he got to this section here, and he was already gunning for the summit. I mean, his mind was on the result. He's a director. He's very driven. And he went right through this Crux section with just complete effortless movement. Didn't even faze him. Next, he steps up to what I believe is the mental crux of the entire climb. It's funny because it's definitely not technically challenging, but there's an interesting scenario here, and you've probably seen similar things happen in the work environment. Often, myself, I know when I've gotten tripped up and wasn't able to step up, it's usually not something I'm technically challenged with. There's usually other factors involved and some kind of fear. So Manley walked up to this gap. This wall that he's standing on in this photo is about 300 feet tall, and then I'm standing on a tower that's actually 500 feet on the backside. Between these two towers, there's a 4.5-foot gap that you see in front of him, and that's like an elevator shaft. So about 300 feet down between the elevator shaft there. Across, again, it's only 4.5 feet, so the technique that you use to move across this little section is just to fall forward. So you keep your feet where they are, you stretch out your hands, and you basically fall across the gap, place your hands across the wall at the bottom there, and then step across. Simple physically, but absolutely mentally very, very scary. So you can imagine looking down that 300 feet and the wind blowing up on you, pretty challenging. Manley moves across it effortlessly. Again, mental crux, but he rocks it. His mind's on the summit. He sees the summit. Then my daughter Lizzie comes up. Lizzie gets quite upset at first. She's very full of fear when she looks down. And knowing that she is a socializer, I said, Lizzie, we need you. The team needs you up here. Manley and I were already up on the summit, and we tried to smile and make some noise. Woo, come on up. Get up here with us. That engaged her socializer component and got her motivated to get on up there with us. She made the leap across. Now, in this case, she was actually much shorter than us, and that gap for her was almost made her stretch out to horizontal when she reached across. So it was even scarier for her. Now, I didn't have an opportunity to get great video. I took some quick photos there of them doing it, but I'm actually working the ropes. I didn't want to risk, letting them slip. What was interesting is there was another couple, a young couple coming up on a different route, but they had to make the same crossing. And this gal is actually being belayed, B-E-L-A-Y, by her young boyfriend. He's already on the summit, and I was able to capture this video of her struggling with this moment and in complete fear. Now, I don't know her at all. I just literally just met her when you see this video playing. So I'm going to play this next. I want you to watch closely and listen very closely to the dialogue and what happens next. So I'll play that now.
Yeah, then stand up there.
Stand up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be easier.
Yeah, stand up. Across. Stand up because it's gonna be easier. Promise you.
It's never gonna be easy.
Stand up. That way you can reach out. And you'll.
Oh my gosh.
Stand up, and you'll be all right. You gotta stand up though. That way you have full extension to reach across.
Oh, right.
He's got you tight too. Go straight across the flat wall over here to your left. Straight across. The flat section first. Just land your hands first. You're just going to go hands. No hand holds, really. Just going.
My hands first?
Yeah, just to stop you.
Just lean in?
Yes, yes. And then you work your hands down to good holds.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
You got it, Becky.
Well?
Just jump.
Just jump?
That's another option, but I'm giving you the more moderate route.
I think I have to squat.
I recommend you don't squat. And I did twice myself, both ways.
Squat?
No squatting.
Once?
No, none.
Never squatted.
No, never squatting. Trust me. And then too, you want to you got to just lay across. When your arms are long, you reach out. You're only about 1.5 feet from reaching to the wall.
Oh my gosh, I lost down.
Step to your left just a bit. Put your left foot on the left gray hold. Left out the left.
Oh my gosh, I can't move.
You can do it.
You gonna bibby there?
You can do it, Becky. Yeah.
That's it.
Oh.
Nice.
Now you have to come in.
Now put your hands, good hand holds. Work your hands on the good hand holds there. Just there's little shelves.
Oh my god.
He's got you tight. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Go.
Right.
It's over.
That was awful. Oh my god. That was
I got you on video too, right?
ah!
Still rolling. In case you want to say anything to Mom.
Well, I made it. Hope you're proud.
I mean, it's the top.
Yeah. Okay, now.
Stall fire in the needles. Right here. Nice. You got it. That's great.
So what did you notice about? Think about what you noticed about Becky making that leap across there. I don't know if you picked up on this in the dialogue, but there was a moment when her young boyfriend said, "Were you going to just sleep there?" You know, so I'm willing to bet that they're not together today because he stressed her out, and it really wasn't the encouragement that I think she really needed. And what people took away from this when we were in Vegas was, you know, the fact that I didn't know her from Adam. It really doesn't take a long-term relationship to get just the encouragement that a person might need at one moment in time to help them step out of their comfort zone and bring their best. Again, this is not a technically difficult moment here. This is just a mental moment that she had to overcome. So with a little bit of verbal support and encouragement, she was able to do it. Then my wife comes along. She didn't think about it, ironically. She just had to make the leap across there and got it to us very quickly. So now we want to expand the belay concept where we're driving the individual connection. We're giving that person on an individual level exactly what they need to bring their best, to step out consistently. How can we then take this and drive it and amplify it at the team level? This is the final and fourth step here. And this is where you're going to get not just the individual actions and that really next level of engagement, but this is where you're going to start to see the culture start to take shape more, and the results of it will be exponentially amplified. And more people are going to absolutely start stepping up and having more courage, and then not just showing up, but speaking up and volunteering, getting out of their comfort zone, learning new skills, engaging in new conversation, building new relationships, and so on. Where you can apply this is in your team meetings. I would encourage you to just add a few minutes to your team meeting. It only takes about a minute per person. Here's the 4 key steps. So what you're going to do is have each team member, or at least one, I would encourage every team member, especially if you're serious about bringing this high-performance culture to reality, have them share that struggle at a summit. So here's the 4-step framework. Number 1, similar to what you did in the one-on-one connection with them, ask them to say, here's the comfort zone that I identified. Here's a great example. A friend of mine I used to work with, his name was Gary. He identified that public speaking for him was a very fearful thing. He was not comfortable with it, and I encouraged him and pushed him out of his comfort zone with it. He had a presentation he was able to do in the organization. So he stands up, in this example, stands up and says, team, here's where I was uncomfortable. Number 2 step is to identify LBs. LB stands for what you liked best. What did you like best about that experience? In this case, Gary could say, what I like best about it is, it wasn't as hard as I expected. I actually stood up, and with a little bit of practice, nobody threw anything at me, and people said they got a lot out of the presentation. Step 3, NT stands for next time. Next time, here's what I will do differently. Now, you're not beating yourself up here. Again, very, very important to phrase there. Next time, here's what I would do differently. Not, I really sucked, I blew this, I wish I'd done this, man, I felt like a dummy. No, next time, here's what I'll do differently. Every time I do a presentation, including this one, I'm going to sit down and do a complete brain dump afterwards. Everything I like best, what will I do next time to take it to the next level? 4th step, critically important, with the entire team there, to celebrate big but brief. Everyone, if you want to clap or say, that's awesome, acknowledge them and say, wow. What this does is it's very contagious. Courage is contagious, and it absolutely inspires people. Someone else sees someone stand up and, wow, if he did it, I can do it. And I'm kind of uncomfortable with that situation as well, or I don't like dealing with that department either, or that particular user has been very challenging for me. And by sharing that experience and that engagement with them, what they like best, and next time it will derive momentum with the team, and it rubs off very quickly. Celebrate big but brief. We have to get off the summit fast or get struck down. We've all had that happen. We think everything's great, nectars are good. Woo-hoo. We had a big celebration, and then come along, something else goes down or knocks us off the summit. So celebrate big but brief with the team. Again, this only takes about a minute when you get this down, a sentence or 2 on each of those 4 points, and it really brings another level of amplification to that culture and getting people to really get out of the comfort zone. So we get to the summit, and of course there's my director, Manlius. Woo-hoo, he's on top. He's forgetting all about the fact that he was very frustrated on the section below. And then we have Mrs. Lizzie. You see, she's the socializer, right? So she's leading the celebration on the summit. Manley's having some fun. I've got my hand around him, and then there's Miss Emily down there, the thinker, is not as comfortable on the summit as the rest of us. She's actually quite fearful of heights, but gets out of her comfort zone every time we go out there. She keeps swearing that she's done with climbing, but we'll see. But I want to share one final moment here that really was something that surprised me. I didn't expect this, and I want to share this because this is what you can expect. Regardless of your title, if you will step up and engage people in the way they're motivated, be aware of their personality style and connect with them in a way and give them the details they need or the particular environment to bring their best and step out. And then when you start building those individual connections, and then when you expand that to the team environment and make that part of how you think, live, breathe, and how you all act every day, people will be watching you. Your team is going to be watching you, and I promise you, when you get to the next summit, big or small, that team will be right there with you. Regardless of your title, they're going to be standing up there on the summit. And what happened next right here was pretty remarkable. Little Manley taps me on the shoulder. He said, "Dad, can we climb that one next? Can we climb that one next? I cannot wait to hear about the one that you climb next with your team." Thank you.
Thanks so much, Manley. It's always great to hear from you.
Thank you, Roy. Appreciate you.
Well, we enjoyed that presentation immensely. And now if you could help us by filling out the feedback form that's opened up on your computer. To complete the form, please press the Submit Answer button at the bottom of the page. Thanks in advance for doing that. Your participation in this survey allows us to better serve you. For more information related to today's webcast, please visit the Resource Center, and don't forget to visit today's sponsor, CA Technologies, at their booth. Within the next 24 hours, you'll receive a personalized follow-up email with details and a link to today's presentation on demand. Coming up, enjoy the networking lounge, visit the expo hall, and don't forget to visit the Prize Center. And shortly, Christine Cashin tells us how to stop global whining. Join us then. Thank you.